Trump taking a stand against the far left after Democrats continue their stonewalling on deals, all in an effort to push their immigration agenda.
Democrats in Congress not only oppose our efforts to stop illegal immigration and crack down on sanctuary cities, now they are demanding amnesty as a condition for funding the government, holding troop funding hostage, and putting our national security at risk. We cannot allow it.
So are Democrats putting party ahead of the American people? Here to debate is former Chief of Staff to Senator Mike Lee Boyd Matheson and former candidate for chair of the DNC and Fox News contributor Jehmu Greene. Thank you both for joining us very early this morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Heather.
So, Jehmu, I'll start with you. Is the Democratic Party stonewalling when it comes to immigration?
Absolutely not, Heather. I think when you look at the original inception of the DREAM Act decades ago, and all of the conversations we've had about comprehensive immigration reform, for anyone to say that there's a stalling, there is a real need for us to move forward and to stop using, especially these dreamers, as a political football, as we've seen from this administration and as we've seen from previous administrations. I think these young people who know no other country but the United States of America, who many of them have served in our military, are wanting to contribute more than they already do to their communities. They need an answer.
And nobody disagrees with that, right, Boyd? Nobody disagrees with that. Even President Trump, he gave them 6 months, both Democrats and Republicans, to work something out in terms of DACA, and now here we are.
Yeah, it's definitely a leadership problem on both the left and the right. The one thing we know for certain this week is your email box is going to be flooded with fundraising emails from the left and the right on this very issue. And the problem is we're not having the real discussion. We're allowing the loud and strident voices on both ends of this debate. And it's one of those that I think should be done on the floor of the Senate, not connected to a spending bill, not connected to a continuing resolution. But let's debate it on the merits, because as you said, and I think Jehmu would agree that, look, this is something we can get together on. These are people who have a lot of uncertainty that's just getting the political football back and forth as we go along. And I think it's time to have a real conversation about immigration and how we really move the whole thing forward, not just the dreamers, but broader things as well.
And there are about, 800,000 young undocumented immigrants who have taken advantage of the DACA program, which is the deferred deportation program that President Barack Obama actually created back in 2012. Do you agree there, Jehmu, in terms of opening up the debate, having a public debate, and taking this away from the spending bill?
I think that on one hand, we would hope that this would be able to have a discussion and a decision outside of the spending bill. But Heather, we have to be realistic here. This is politics. And right now you've got Republicans that control every single branch of the government. And when you have the leader of the Republican Party really being the one who is standing in the way of getting a DREAM Act passed.
But he's not standing. How is he standing in the way when he gave them 6 months to come to some sort of agreement?
Well, he didn't need to pull the program away under, pull the foundation and any sort of sense of stability out from under their feet. There certainly could have been a better legislative way of dealing with this. And Democrats have to, use the only leverage that they may have on this issue. That's how politics works. I hope that we can have both sides come together on this. And we have to keep in mind, this is not a fringe issue. This is something that John McCain was a champion of, one of the original champions of. There are dozens of Republicans who agree with this legislation.
Including President Trump, who just wants something worked out in terms of allowing them to stay, but perhaps not a direct path to amnesty. That's where I believe there's some discrepancy there in terms of what people think should happen. Boyd, what do you think? Last word.
So, again, this is a leadership problem on both ends of the spectrum. And, again, we got to quit tying it to all these other things. Every time we create an artificial cliff, then we end up with these massive bills that nobody reads. And we end up with bad decisions for hardworking Americans, for these dreamers that have a great deal of uncertainty. We can do better. We have to expect more from our politicians than what we're getting right now. Instead of saying what they're telling us, which is it's just the way it is in politics, we got to expect more, not less, if we're going to move this forward.
expect more. That's good. That's a good way to end this. Thank you both for joining us. Appreciate it this morning.